Hello, this is UATV and News Pulse. Let's feel the beat watching the episode. A fiery month for Russia. Learn the monthly aftermath of Ukraine targeting Russian war chest by burning oil refineries deep in Russia. Meeting in Alaska, a talks for peace or Putin's one-man show. Outdated tech upgraded and sent back into the combat. Ukraine does not disdain to use it all in the name of victory. A reportage for you. In just a few weeks, August 2025 will go down in history as the month when Ukraine launched an unprecedented series of precision strikes on the core of Russia's fuel infrastructure. Over the course of 12 days, Ukrainian kamikaze drones disabled 5 Russian oil refineries that accounted for nearly 25% of the country's total oil processing capacity. All of them have been completely shut down. This includes the Razan refinery, 30 million tons annual, the Novokuybyshev refinery, that is 8 million tons, the Afipsky refinery, 7 million tons, the Saratov refinery, over 7 million tons a year, and the Volgograd refinery, about 15 million tons a year. On August 15th, Ukrainian drones struck also the Sezeryn oil refinery in Russia's Samara region, one of the largest in the Rosneft system, with the processing capacity of 9 million tons per year. This was not the first time Ukrainian drones pay a fiery visit at the site, so it's expected to soon join out-of-order list. The results speak for themselves. Deep strikes into enemy's territory by Ukraine's defense forces have cost Russia staggering $74 billion in damage since the start of 2025 alone. That is more than 4% of the aggressor's annual GDP.
Drone and missile strikes on targets inside Russia directly affect the occupier's combat capabilities. For several months now, the Russian army's artillery ammunition consumption has been reduced by nearly half. This is a clear example. If earlier this number reached up to 40,000 rounds per day, it is now significantly less. Oleksandr Syrsky, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of Ukraine, on the air of Ukrainian National Telethon.
These strikes are a prime example of an asymmetric strategy, maximum effect at minimal expense. Importantly, these operations have been carried out solely by Ukrainian drones developed and manufactured domestically.
Our Ukrainian drones work exactly as they should. But there are things that cannot be done with drones alone, unfortunately. We need other weapons, missile weapons. And we continue working with our partners on long-range decisions for Ukraine.
Ukraine does not disclose the exact models of drones used, obviously, but the Lyuty UAV has been seen, and we know at least it is a long-range kamikaze drone developed in early 2022 in response to Russian Shahed drone terror. Since 2023, it has been regularly used to target military and industrial targets deep inside Russian territory. Also, new drones resembling Shaheds in shape have emerged. The Ukrainian Batyar, for example. The word Batyar means troublemaker, wanderer, or rebel. At first glance, the Batyar may look like Russian Iranian Shahed, but the similarity just ends there. Its aerodynamic design was developed from scratch by Ukrainian engineers using the latest Western technologies, and strikes are not limited to oil refineries in Russia at all. Defense plants, warehouses, depots, transport hubs, and other key infrastructure are also being targeted non-stop. Ukrainian weapons are operating deep in Russian rear, challenging Russia's understanding of a safe zone within its own land. Innovation isn't just about creating from scratch, but also upgrading outdated or unconventional tech. One recent example is the conversion of the Ukrainian agricultural plane Muravan Z-137 Agroturbo into an air defense aircraft. An outdated, plane has been equipped with pylons carrying R-73 air-to-air missiles, allowing it to intercept reconnaissance Shahed drones and, under certain conditions, even cruise missiles. It can operate from short runways, fly at low speeds, and of course, is way cheaper than conventional fighter jets. It's a piece of equipment from the past, indeed, given new combat life through a Ukrainian approach today. Integrating R-73 missiles into air defense is no longer a novelty for Ukrainian forces. Another example is the Dragon H-73 air defense system. Based on an American Humvee off-road vehicle, Ukrainian troops mounted a launch platform with two R-73 missiles on top of it, an optical sight and electronic warfare equipment. This allows the vehicle to shoot down UAVs, tactical aircraft, operate day and night and remain very mobile. It is in fact a rapidly relocatable air defense system. A previous project, Soviet-era OSA, WASP in English, SAM systems, which now fire R-73 missiles instead of outdated 9M33 type.
These R-73 missiles are available. In fact, there are plenty of them in stock. That's precisely why this kind of modernization was carried out. There is a severe shortage of surface-to-air guided missiles, specifically the standard 9M33M2 and 9M33M3 missiles for this combat vehicle. The vehicle is equipped with two pylons for air-to-air missiles, the same type of mounts used on aircraft or helicopters.
Авіаційна ракета має суттєву перевагу.
An aviation missile like the R-73 has a significant advantage because it operates on the fire-and-forget principle. Unlike the standard missiles of the OSA SAM system, it doesn't require continuous guidance after launch. This means that after firing, we can immediately leave the position to avoid a retaliatory strike.
In the Kharkiv region, repair crews repurposed a self-propelled Msta-S howitzer by mounting a T-72 tank turret on it. The reason for such an upgrade was simple. The howitzer was out of commission, but the chassis remained operational. On the front lines, these conversions turned the vehicle into armored recovery unit, a machine for evacuating damaged equipment, or even becoming a mobile armored command post. This is not an isolated case. Standalone, during the battles for Bakhmut, Ukrainian forces converted T-64 tanks into combat evac vehicles. Necessity breeds innovation. When weapon deliveries are delayed or simply just do not arrive at all, Ukrainians rely on their own resourcefulness and creativity to find alternative solutions. Instead of waiting passively, they adapt existing equipment, modify old technology, and invent new ways to meet the demands on the battlefield. This ingenuity allows them to overcome shortages and maintain effective combat capabilities, often producing results that rival or even surpass those achievable with standard military supplies. Ukrainian innovation becomes a powerful force multiplier of the force, turning challenges into opportunities of success. The upcoming Friday talks in Alaska mark a dramatic shift for Vladimir Putin, lifting him out of Western diplomatic deprivation. For Putin, the very fact that such a meeting with Trump is happening is already a victory, let alone on American soil. This has sparked protests all over Anchorage. Lots of people took their outrage to the streets to support Ukraine and demand justice and accountability for Russia, and not to accept Putin as an equal by the President of the United States on American soil. You can see different banners during rallies, lots of Ukrainian flags, and loads of support for just peace and unconditional ceasefire in Ukraine. Hundreds of Alaskans have protested, demanding the Ukrainian President Zelensky to be invited to talks with President Trump and Putin. Worth noting that most of those present are Americans with little or no ties to Ukraine at all, but a common understanding of freedom as a core human value.
I'm upset that Trump is meeting Putin in Alaska, and we stand with Ukraine, and Putin is a war criminal, and he kills children.
I mean, you need Zelensky to be there if there's going to be any peace agreement, but Ukraine was its own country. I don't think there's any land to be ceded.
We are standing with Ukraine. We do not like the way our president is treating the Ukrainian those who are putting their lives on the line there.
Ukrainian people's country was invaded, and it's not how we, as a democracy, treat our neighbors and our allies. And I just want to let everyone know that Alaskans...
Russian journalists were placed in quite Spartan conditions in Alaska ahead of the Trump-Putin summit in a sport complex with just simple folded beds separated with thin curtains. This has sparked outrage of the Russian propagandists as they expected to be treated as equals in America, and that is after years of war against other sovereign states and international law and order, by the way, and naming America as Russia's #1 adversary. Comrade Lavrov even arrived in America at the summit in a jumper with the USSR inscription on it. Few expect today's meeting in Alaska between Russian dictator and US President Donald Trump to deliver a major breakthrough of sorts towards ending the war in Ukraine, given how fundamentally their positions differ. It breaks the Kremlin's diplomatic deadlock, indeed, and gives Putin a rare chance to personally exert pressure on the United States president, beyond weakening Russia's fully deserved pariah status in the West. The summit has also sown discord within NATO family, a long-standing Kremlin's goal, and delayed Trump's threats to impose new, harsh sanctions on Russia. How many hopes Russians hold for this meeting? They released an AI-animated video even telling the story of the, I quote Russians now, long and lasting history of friendship between Russia and the United States. It all looks just as bad as it feels pathetic. Well, suit yourself. Pardon my smile. And as the world waits the results of these meetings, so we do. We do the same. We hope for the better, while, of course, we know of the true nature of the Russian political leadership. It is evil, as simple as that. And you simply cannot hide it sometimes. Everyone will see their true nature soon, I'm sure of that, again, and not while they talk, when they will act. Ukrainian Foreign Minister Sybiha urges everyone to stay calm and trust in Ukraine, trust in truth that will prevail.
No one wants peace more than Ukrainians. No one wants peace more than Europeans. But Russia sees its very purpose in waging war. Russia prefers to build new walls on our path to a just and lasting peace. It wants to seal away our freedom. Yet, the transatlantic unity of democracies is stronger than Russian imperialism. And it is through our shared transatlantic strength that we can achieve a dignified peace built on reliable security. Andriy Sybiha, Foreign Minister of Ukraine. On X social network.
Unanimous in their assessment of the situation and what goal can be achieved in talks with Vladimir Putin. This is how German Chancellor Friedrich Merz commented on the results of the online summit of United States and European leaders. Ukraine should be a participant in the negotiations, but first, Russia must be forced to ceasefire unconditionally. This is what the heads of European states insist on. Natalia Gusak will talk us all into more detail of the key points of the meeting.
German Chancellor Friedrich Merz outlined 5 key points that European leaders and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky discussed with the head of the White House ahead of his meeting with the Kremlin dictator.
We have made it clear that Ukraine must be present at the negotiating table as soon as the subsequent meetings take place. We want the negotiations to proceed in the right order. First, a ceasefire must be reached. Then, the main elements in a framework agreement must be agreed upon. Thirdly and finally, Ukraine is ready to negotiate territorial issues. However, the starting point must be the so-called contact line. Legal recognition of the Russian occupation is non-negotiable. The principle of inadmissibility of changing borders by force must continue to apply.
The fourth principle that Europe insists on is reliable security guarantees for Ukraine. The fifth is that negotiations should be part of a common transatlantic strategy. Russia should not have the right to veto Ukraine's accession to the EU and NATO, emphasized German Chancellor Friedrich Merz.
I think first of all it must be said that this is a significant success of German diplomacy. To gather these people, to invite Zelensky, to get Trump to participate in this meeting, to get Trump, as we understand, to listen, and ultimately to discuss this in a broader circle with other partners.
The day after the online summit, European Commission spokesperson Ariana Podesta stated that the European Union welcomes the statement made by the President of the United States during the meeting with European leaders that the US will join in providing security guarantees for Ukraine after peace is established.
For me, the most important thing is for Europe to convince Donald Trump that Russia cannot be trusted, and that the only way out, and President Zelensky said this, and I emphasized this very clearly during both meetings, is to force Russia to an honest peace.
During the discussion, an agreement was reached that a fair and lasting peace is impossible without a ceasefire, continued support for Ukraine, maintaining collective pressure on Russia, including thorough sanctions, as well as reliable security guarantees enshrined in the Euro-Atlantic context, said Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni. During the talks between the leaders of the United States and Europe, President Donald Trump made it clear that the United States wants to achieve Russia's agreement to a ceasefire, said the President of France. And any discussions of territorial issues are possible only with the participation of Ukraine, Emmanuel Macron emphasized.
An important point that was made very clear by President Trump is that territorial issues related to Ukraine can and will be decided only by the Ukrainian president. The issue of the occupied territories will be a key element of the peace talks. It is inseparable from the peace guarantees provided to the rest of Ukraine and Europe, and therefore cannot be discussed without the presence at the negotiating table of the President of Ukraine.
Only tough pressure can force Russia to agree to a ceasefire, Estonian Foreign Minister Margus Tsahkna is convinced. After all, instead of seeking peace, Russia continues massive shelling of Ukrainian cities.
The first thing is
Putin does not agree to a ceasefire without negotiations. The Europeans want a ceasefire first, and then negotiations. That is the main difference between the two sides at the moment, and perhaps tomorrow's meeting will be a kind of golden bridge for us between these two positions. But there must be at least something that Mr. Trump can bring with him to Washington, and that could be a ceasefire.
Regardless of the results of the Alaska summit, partners will continue military support for Ukraine, the leaders of the European states said. The new Pearl initiative, the list of priority needs of Ukraine, is already yielding tangible results, said Volodymyr Zelensky. This mechanism allows European partners to finance the supply of American weapons to Kyiv. The Pearl initiative has already raised $1.5 billion. The Netherlands was the first to contribute, later Denmark, Norway, Sweden and Germany. At a meeting with the head of the British government, Keir Starmer, Volodymyr Zelensky invited London to join the initiative. Reported by Natalia Gusak, Volodymyr Stengelov, UATV News.
It was UATV and me, Henry Keane. Thank you so very much for finding time and joining us. Please subscribe so to stay tuned to what is happening in the world, presented to you from Ukrainian perspective. Goodbye.